probably up until the age of 19, that was what I thought I would do with my life, and then had the realization that I actually wasn't good enough. We estimated between 5 and 10% of our members lost their jobs in those early parts in March and April.
Welcome to the marketing room, where the marketing minds get real.
Marketing is one of the most talked about professions in the world. Every profession, every business, every individual has a view on it. And yet, for the longest time in this region, the marketeers themselves had no real home. No community that was genuinely theirs. The Marketing Society has been building that community since 1959. And today's guest has spent the last decade building it here in the GCC. 600 members, 50 events a year, a scholarship, awards now expanded across the entire Gulf. He didn't just build a network, he built the infrastructure of an entire profession. I'm happy to welcome Alasdair Hall-Jones,
Thank you,
GCC Director at the Marketing Society, to the marketing room. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. How are you feeling today?
I'm good, feeling good. We've had the long weekend, so I'm feeling relaxed and energized.
It's so tough to come back to office after a long weekend.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll head straight to knowing more about you. Before the Marketing Society, before Dubai, before any of this, where were you? Where did you grow up and what shaped you?
Yeah, so I grew up in the UK, in England, small town called Eastbourne, down on the south coast. That was where I grew up, and my family lived for a long time. Lived with my mum and my sister, and very, very loving family, I'd have to say. For my mum, I had a fantastic upbringing. I was very, very fortunate. Massively into sports, very social, always out and about doing something with friends. And yeah, that was my sort of childhood. I felt very lucky, very privileged.
You touched upon sports. You nearly pursued a career in professional golf before moving into marketing.
Yeah. I probably up until the age of 19, that was what I thought I would do with my life, and then had the realization that I actually wasn't good enough. And my mum said, "Why don't you go to university?" And luckily, I listened to her. Otherwise, I think professional golf would have been the route that I would have taken. But I wasn't good enough, and luckily learned at a young age. So, but still enjoy playing now. It's still good fun. And
did playing golf teach you something special professionally, personally?
I think it taught me a lot. I mean, mainly that I met all my friends who are now my closest friends,
Awesome.
still from golf. And I think the one thing it does teach you at a young age is about, how to really communicate with adults and professional adults. At a very young age, 13, 14, 15, you interact with senior, professionals in a way that you wouldn't normally in any other sport.
Perfect,
and through different activities and speaking, you'd have to converse with them in large groups as well. So I think it did teach you a lot. I think it taught you how to really communicate with senior leaders.
Work with senior members, senior leaders
Yeah.
at the age of 18, 19 is a great experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
You graduated from Kingston in 2012, went straight into the Marketing Society. Most graduates want to join a brand or an agency, a big name. What drew you to a membership organization?
Yeah, I'm probably the only person who's still at the same company 14 years later than I started. When I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do when I graduated. I knew I wanted to be in business and so on, but I had a couple of other offers. Marketing, sales and recruitment were actually three things. And, marketing felt like something that was, I'd be passionate about. And then there was a few things that I wanted. One, I wanted to meet as many people as possible. I knew that the power of a network was really important. I didn't want to get pigeonholed. I wanted to learn about lots of different things. So I didn't want to be in one specific role. I wanted to have a broad understanding and knowledge. And the third thing, I always knew that I wouldn't work in a large company. I always felt that smaller businesses, I would want to be involved in everything, and I'd be too nosy not to want to be involved in everything. So I knew quite early those three things. And the marketing side, you just really aligned. I found the job on my university job board. It was 10 minutes from my house. So in London, a 10-minute commute is the dream. Yeah. And so that's really how I got into it. So it was more about identifying the things I wanted to, and found this company. And 14 years later, still here.
It's a great learning here. Smaller organizations, you end up doing a lot of things. You learn faster. You work with these super heads and super seniors, versus a larger organization, you're part of a hierarchy.
Yeah, and I've been very lucky to be involved in things with the
Mm.
Marketing Society that I wouldn't have been able to in other companies. You know, at 26, 27, I was launching the Marketing Society around the globe. You know,
Wow.
I was part of the leadership team. You know, I was given responsibility that I would not in a larger company. And the more I've gone through my career, the more I know that I will never work in a corporate. It's just not for me. I know that being involved in smaller organizations fits me and the style that I
Perfectly.
like and my leadership style.
That's exactly my next question. You spent your entire career inside one organization. What has that depth given you, and what do you think people who job hop every 2 years, 3 years fundamentally miss?
I think I really know the business. You know, you'd
Mm.
hope so after 14 years, but you know, I really know the business. I really know how it works. You know, I've seen over the years the growth that we've had and times where it's been more challenging, and you know, especially the last 5 or 6 years, the society's been on an incredible journey of growth. I've worked with different leaders, so I've had that. I've worked with different parts of the business. I've lived in different geographies, so I've had lots of experience with different parts. I don't think there is a one size fits all. You know, there's people that move every 2 or 3 years, and that's fine. That works for them. For me, I feel like you don't really truly understand a business until probably year 3, 4, and 5. There's obviously, you know, if you know, for me, money isn't the be all and end all. You know, I'm sure if I moved around every 3 years, then you know
the growth will come, the
financially,
financial growth will come.
and that happens, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you know, for me, I feel that there was a certain point in the business where I really started to understand it, and that was longer than 2 or 3 years. But because I've had this variety in the role and the diversity of the different roles I've done and the geographies and the leaders, I felt like I've at times I've worked in different companies, even though it is still the Marketing Society and it's still a small company. So no right or wrong answer. For me, I've found a job that I really enjoy and I'm passionate about, and because I've had this variety in different roles, it's kept me fresh. But you definitely see that more and more now with the younger generation who seem to move job more frequently and find it through opportunities. For me, I've found a job that I enjoy, and why move if you do enjoy it?
Yep, to each his own.
Absolutely.
In other words, yep. Let's understand more about the Marketing Society. Not everyone watching will know what is the Marketing Society. So please explain, what is it, who is it for, and what does it actually do?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Marketing Society is a not-for-profit membership organization for senior marketing leaders. We've been around since 1959, as you said, so almost 70 years old. We're headquartered in London, in our headquarters. And we also have hubs in Hong Kong, in Scotland, in Singapore, the UAE, and plans to expand across the GCC as well. And ultimately, we're for marketeers who mean business. So the role of the Marketing Society is to almost be the champion and the cheerleaders of the profession of marketing and showcase marketing's ability to drive sustainable growth. And we're really passionate about marketing being seen as a revenue driving function within business and a growth driving function rather than a cost, absolutely. You know, the history of the Marketing Society, I mean, it started in a pub, you know, as all good things do in the UK. And the idea of it was a place where people could come together over lunch and to talk about marketing, and I'm sure advertising back then a little bit. It's evolved a long way. I'd say probably over the last 25 years, we've really become an association that is at the forefront of the industry and really trying to push the profession of marketing. And as I said, how do we be the champions and the cheerleaders of that?
Amazing. So what's the philosophy at heart of TMS, the belief system?
Yeah, I think at our core, it's about a community that is stronger together than we are alone. So how can a group of people work together to try and make change in the profession? You know, I can't be an expert in all forms of the marketing profession. It's too broad across research, advertising, creative, PR, I mean, it's too broad. But the community we have 650 members in the GCC. We have 3,500 almost globally. Between that community of the most senior people can have that knowledge.
Share
they
experiences,
can work together to try and drive change through our initiatives and through our programs. So ultimately, how can we work together to try and drive change?
So who is TMS for? And equally important, who is it not for?
So as I mentioned earlier, our tagline is that we're for marketeers who mean business. So we're here for people who want to take their careers seriously and who want to work with us to champion marketing as a profession. So ultimately, the society is here for senior marketing leaders, people who work in senior management leadership roles, people who are decision makers, budget holders, ultimately people who lead marketing rather than do marketing. We're predominantly for brands, so 60% of our members are on the client side, 40% are agencies, consultancies, marketing services providers. But we are here for marketers who mean business. Okay. We have both global, local, and regional brands across the world. We're sector agnostic, so we have people from finance, FMCG, tech. Ultimately, if you're someone who leads marketing, someone who's passionate about the profession, then I'm sure we're the right community for you.
So on a client side, if there is no marketing department, the so-called vice president or CEO can join the team.
Yeah, we have CEOs who join. We even have a few CFOs who join who want to get closer to marketing and be part of the conversations. One of our board members in Singapore is a CFO who really wants to try and champion that CFO-CMO relationship, which I'm sure we'll come on to a little bit more today. But ultimately we're here for senior leaders who are passionate about marketing.
Cool. Yeah. And if a mid-manager gets interested in Marketing Society, when do they think, when can they join, or can they join any event or be a part of it somehow?
So all of the membership applications are reviewed by our board, so they have the final say. But if people are in sort of mid-management roles, we do have a few programs that we run. We have one called The Ones to Watch, which is designed for people with sort of 10 years of experience, almost preparing them to take on those more senior roles. And once they do that, then they probably become members of the society. So there's no right or wrong way. There's no absolute defining criteria. It's about a group of people who are at the leading edge and are, would not be out of place with a group of people who are the leading marketeers in the UAE or in London as well.
So what does membership actually give someone practically, tangibly, that they can't get anywhere else in GCC marketing landscape or anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, we have three core benefits that we try and deliver. The first is community. So how do we help people tap into that community globally as well as locally? And we know that, as I mentioned earlier, we're stronger together than we are alone. So that community is just so important. The second thing is inspiration. So through our events, our awards, our publications, our gender equality initiative, all the things that we do, how do we provide the inspiration that makes people think differently about their job as a marketing leader? And the third thing is acceleration. So how can we help accelerate people's careers? How do we help them with our training programs, through mentoring, through all the different initiatives that we have? And the role of the society is how do we help people go further in their career, and how do we help them go further faster? So for some people that might be, I want to be a CMO CEO. Other people it might be, I want to start my own business and I want to be more entrepreneurial. Whatever it might be, we believe the society, through the community, through the inspiration, through the acceleration, we can help you on that journey.
2018, you relocated to Dubai. What was the conviction that made you commit to GCC so completely? And what did you see in the market that made you believe it needed TMS more than anywhere else?
Yeah, so I moved here in 2018, but I always wanted to live in Dubai. Even from university, my friend who I lived with, we'd always look at these videos of Dubai being built, and the best of this, the biggest of this.
Dubai's marketing is another case study.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but it just really aligned to me. I love that. I love the ambition to be the best at everything. I think it's incredible.
Yes.
And actually, we both lived here. So we both moved here. I think he was 2017, I was 2018, and but I came out here in 2016 for the first time to set up the Marketing Society. And when I went back, I told my boss then, I was like, look, I want to move to Dubai. She said, I thought that might happen. And so we talked and we found a way to make it work. But, I just wanted to be on the ground. I wanted to live somewhere with that level of ambition. And I felt the Marketing Society had a really huge opportunity to grow in this country. I felt like when I came here in 2016 for the first time, the industry was very fragmented. There was brands, there was agency, there was a couple of media, campaigns being strong. There were very few membership associations. There are no intermediaries. And it just felt like people running a million miles an hour in the wrong direction. And I felt the society had a great opportunity to come together, to be that almost central part that could bring this together, provide structure, to provide ethical ways of doing things, to provide best practice, but also to give direction.
A room for discussions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but to be able to do that and to help the industry move in the same direction together. Our chief exec, Sophie, wrote a book called How to Lead at Speed. And one of the elements of that, she talks about the word velocity, which is speed in the right direction. And I feel something that Dubai and the UAE as a country, has to focus on at times. There's lots of speed, but how do we get the velocity right? And I felt the society was a great opportunity and a great organization to do that for the profession.
So nicely said. You have the direction, you have the speed, but you have to get the velocity right.
Absolutely.
Amazing. For the first time in this region, TMS has brought the marketing and advertising worlds in the same room. Clients and agencies, brand leaders and creative directors, the people who write the briefs, the people who answer them. That bridge was missing, as you shared. Was that deliberate or did it happen organically?
I think quite organically. I think the type of business that the Marketing Society is, we're not, we're for any senior marketing leader, whether they're agencies or client side. I mean, we're a client side organization is how we define it. Most of the speakers that we have are on the client side, the judges are our awards are chief marketing. So we're client side, but that doesn't mean we exclude agencies. We still find ways to engage agencies and consultants, creative directors, whatever it might be, into the ecosystem. And I think that's just the ethos of the Marketing Society. How do we bring the best people together who are able to share their ideas, spread best practice, and have the right level of conversations? And I think it has helped the industry. And I think also over the years as well, other membership organizations have started and launched here, which is great. And a big part of my role is actually how do I get us all to work closer together? And we've been working with the team at the Dubai Links and the Athar actually to help bring those groups together. We all have a different part to play, but we all have the same end goal, which is to make the industry better. But I think, here, I think the PRCA were here as well when we joined. I really felt the society was a great place to help with that as well. And I think we've been able to bring those conversations between people together. And it's important that we do. It's important that we don't separate agencies and clients. It's one team.
It's one industry.
The best work. If you have a look at our award winners in the UK and here, it's usually an agency client group submission that wins.
Always.
So, and the best work is delivered as a team when it is seen as a team, not a supplier relationship, an actual team that works together. There's no hierarchy. It's the agency and the client coming together. And I think that's how the best long-term work is delivered.
And both end up complementing each other. They're not competing. Without one, the other cannot exist. Without the other, one cannot exist. So obviously. How has TMS specifically helped marketers in the region? Can you share examples?
Yeah,
what it has done for people's careers, their thinking, confidence as leaders, how it has.
Yeah, I think on an individual level, I mean, look, people have got jobs through the Marketing Society.
Amazing.
People I know have, through our programs and through the learnings that we've done, given them the capability and the confidence that they've got promotions and so on. So on a personal level, one of our, one of the parts of our proposition is how do we help our members do well? And we've definitely seen that at an individual level, that people have grown through the society and evolved and gone on to greater things. The other thing that we try and do is to help people do good. And we can do that as an industry. So as a society, we've created initiatives like Think Equal, which is our gender equality program, where we try and help more female leaders take the top jobs across brands, media and agency. We've launched a new female leadership program this year called the Leadership Accelerator for 15 female leaders who are trying to make the jump into the C-suite. And we've given them a free of charge program, which is funded by great partners that we work with like TikTok and Weber Shandwick.
Amazing.
And, we've had some great feedback on that. And hopefully we'll start to see them making that jump soon. So Think Equal has been a really important program for us. I think gender equality is something that the UAE has started to take much more seriously in the region and starting to see that progress. We also launched our scholarship, which is a program for young talent between 1 and 5 years of experience. And we offer a 6-month free of charge program for young, hungry, ambitious marketeers who really want to make that jump on their career. And they get 10 events, training, mentoring. They work on a group project. Again, all free of charge. And I think that's an initiative that personally I'm really proud of. It's one of the things that I've enjoyed the most and definitely got the most energy from. But now seeing that first cohort from 2022, one of them is the marketing director of Morale. Another one's the head of marketing at Talabat. We're starting to see them make the jump into those leadership roles. And I'm not saying it's all because of the Marketing Society. It's the chicken and egg. They were put on the program. But I'm sure that some of the learnings that they've taken have helped them make the jump quicker through their career.
Yep, I remember we had 3 of our team members join the scholarship. I have mentored 2 people. I'm still mentoring one. She's back in India, but she's coming back soon. Yep, that's been a great help. We know people have learned a lot from those experiences they talk to, the mentorship they get, the training they get across. On the agency side, how has TMS helped agencies and the broader advertising community? Because
Yeah,
this
so-
isn't a client side story only, as you said, 60-40.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I think, one of the things a society does, as I said, is it gives access to leading marketeers in a way that doesn't normally. That means you get to hear directly from them in our roundtables and so on, the challenges they're facing, the opportunities. You get that direct access to hearing directly from them in a very, very safe space. And I think the Marketing Society provides that at quite a lot of our events, either in a structured way or in an unstructured networking format. I also think we've brought people together. And I know that, brands within the Marketing Society have found their agencies through the Marketing Society in a way that maybe they don't have to go to pitch, or they've already been able to fast track some of the elements of that, because the Marketing Society gives credibility that the agencies that are involved are agencies that people want to work with as well. So I think there's a credibility part of being an agency that's involved in the Marketing Society,
Big time.
as well as having that direct access into the client side members of the Marketing Society. And you're part of the WhatsApp group that we've got as well. I mean, it gives you access, speed, and ease in a way that you wouldn't normally get.
Exactly.
And I think it ultimately speeds up your ability to do your job. And I think for an agency leader in a very, very fast-paced world where margins are being squeezed more than ever before, it's critical to be able to have that ability to have access to brands, to learn, to be at the leading edge of what's happening, and to be able to make those connections that hopefully lead to business opportunities as well. And I think you can do that in the Marketing Society in a very easy way. As I said, structured or in an unstructured way too.
Have you ever faced any questions or things like, because whenever agencies come in, there's always a fear of solicitation of business.
Yeah.
Have you ever faced an issue where agencies coming to the room with the clients and there is expectation of business card exchange or solicitation?
Yeah, I mean, look, the society is a place where connections are made. And that's really important. We never want to stop that. We have a no sales rule, no soliciting rule. If you want to meet someone, then you have a coffee with them. Fantastic.
That's outside the network.
Absolutely, yeah. And we take it quite seriously. I mean, we've excluded members from the Marketing Society who don't behave in the way that we want. The community strength and the culture within the community of we're here to support each other and so on is everything. And I spend actually a big part of my job really trying to foster that community and really trying to get people to feel like, this is their community. And one or two bad eggs can really have a massive impact on that. So, we work very hard on that. We're very, very strict on it. And I think once people come and experience it, they also understand. So if you get the culture right, that people immediately understand, and also members will also challenge other members who don't. And members will say we. I love when I hear members talk about the Marketing Society with we. And if people don't behave, then other members will call them up on it, which I think really goes back to that strength of the community. And if you get those, the vision, and you get the sort of the culture of the community right, the members almost sort of self-manage that, which is fantastic.
Awesome.
It will always happen. Always someone will
get the culture right, get the people right.
And so look, it's never going to not happen. But I think if you get the culture right and you understand that this isn't the place for that, then it's hopefully somewhere that people understand straight from the start.
If somebody wants to join the Marketing Society, and because you shared there's so many programs running, what's the best place to learn more about the Marketing Society, the programs and the joining formality?
Yeah, absolutely. The website has huge amounts of content on there, from our content, from our upcoming events, from the initiatives that we run, the training programs. So huge amounts on there, but also speak to other members. I'm sure most people will know someone in their community and their network who is a member, and referrals are a big part of what we do. But people can apply, as I said, if they meet the criteria. Our board approve all of the applications, and then people can get involved and be part of what we do. So we're always looking for new members. But ultimately people who want to fit in with the culture and, come into it from the right mindset, which is I'm here to give back as well as learn. And I think if you come into that mindset, and the other 650 people do locally, then we'll be in a good place.
Yeah. 600 members, the 50 plus events, a scholarship that gives 50 young marketeers a full complementary developed program. At what point did it stop feeling like you're building something and started feeling you had actually built something?
I'm not sure it still does. I think you always want more and more, but I think the last 3 years in particular, we've seen huge growth. I mean, the membership numbers have doubled. The brand strength, I think, is in a really strong place. The community culture, I think we've taken to another level. So, as I said, I've been on this journey for a long time. I felt the last 2 or 3 years in particular, we were really starting to build something. 2026, we had the best January and February we ever had as a business. And obviously then the world changed after 28th of February. But even through all these challenges, our community hasn't actually shrunk. We're still, I think we're still growing, if anything. The community is probably stronger than anything before. So I don't feel like we've got there. There's still a lot of work to do, but I'm really starting to see the impact of what the society is having. Our awards, we're really showcasing what best-in-class marketing looks like, both globally and locally. The programs that we've launched, the female leadership program, the scholarship. We have another program called the Ones to Watch. We're really starting to see the impact. Our conference has really gone to another level in terms of the feedback that we get with members, and hosting a conference at the Museum of the Future for a not-for-profit company. I think it really shows the level that we're at. Our awards were at Atlantis. So you get these few milestones along the way where you really start to see all of the work that you've put in. You really start to see the impact, as well as all, stories of people who, as I said, who have found jobs or got promotions. That's great. And, personally, my gives me the energy through my purpose, which is to help people. But when you start to see some of those moments, you realize what you are building, and it's hard sometimes. Sometimes you have to take a step back, but
it's okay. But it's on the right direction. It's showing. I remember I've been a member long.
Yeah.
And the initial first few days of events versus now, you can see the difference.
Yeah.
You can see the quality. You can see the quality in content. You can see the quality in people, members. So yeah, obviously it's arrived. You can announce it. What brings you the most satisfaction personally in everything you have built here? The human moment that made you think that is exactly why you do this?
Yeah, I just touched on it. I mean, my purpose is, I've done a lot of work through leadership programs, is about how do I help people personally and professionally. And obviously marketing's an avenue through the society that, I've really enjoyed. I think is a brilliant industry. So, when I see people, as I said, get promotions and get new roles that might be through the marketing society or has given the confidence or the capability, those are the bits that really give me the energy and the passion. When I see these young scholars and they go on this journey and, they talk about, the evolution of their thinking and their confidence, like those are the small moments that give me the energy to say this is still a job that you really enjoy and so on. But yeah, like I said, I think there are certain moments. The conference last year at the Museum of the Future, we brought in some incredible speakers. I mean, Michael Grieve, who's the Chief Brand Officer of Jumeirah, was brilliant. I mean, his story about Arabian hospitality and what they're trying to do for the Jumeirah brand, I thought was a world-class, presentation. We had the founder of Humantra talk about the journey that he had been on as a founder and the failures along the way. And he's a brilliant and very, very focused and passionate leader, and obviously built a brilliant homegrown brand in the marketing society as well. And then we brought in some of these sessions called the Made by Members. So it was members of the marketing society who would share for 5 minutes a story about how they've overcome a personal challenge. And we had one of our members, Rowena, who has a stammer, and got on stage in front of 350 people to talk about the impact that has on her and how brands can evolve and so on. So there's moments like that where you really think, okay, this is something that's really, given me that purpose, and we're really doing something that actually makes a difference. And it's very hard to measure the impact the marketing society makes on the profession of marketing. I don't know.
This is the impact.
I don't know. There's an NPS score of how we can do that. So for me, it's those anecdotes and those stories from people where I think like we're really on the right track of doing something that is meaningful and actually making a difference as well. And hopefully we continue to see the marketing industry play a bigger part of the economy. Obviously, very dominated by tourism. Dominated by oil, crypto. Marketing is not one of those tier one industries. But how do we really see that marketing play a bigger part of what we do? I think is something that I'm really wanting to champion.
Yeah, marketing doesn't get that importance while it still be the most important department.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those industries where when things are going well, it's never marketeers.
Yeah, it's the sales, it's the market, it's the economy.
It's always something else, the finance team or so on. But when things are going bad, it's always the first thing you look to the marketing team. And I think that will always be the way, unfortunately, because it's so tangible and anyone can see it. No one sees the behind the scenes of the balance sheet. But everyone sees marketing, everyone sees advertising, everyone sees that kind of customer facing element of design or creative or so on. So I think we just have to accept that, but to really double down on what we're good at, which is hopefully about driving long-term sustainable growth.
The scholarship is particularly close to my heart. 50 young marketeers a year, mentored by great marketeers, developed over 6 months, completely free of charge. Why was investing in the next generation so important, and what gap were you specifically filling?
Yeah, when we created the program, actually, the initial idea was we were hearing from lots of members that they had very kind of talented younger team members, but there was nothing really to give them that kind of early career development that wasn't an online training course. So could you create something that was embedded in the real world of marketing that you learned from people and leaders who had been there and done it? And the brief, when we had the meeting with the board, and we also created it with TikTok when we first launched it, a guy called Farhad who was part of the team, and we kind of built it together, was if you were 25 years old, knowing now you know everything you do, what would you like to learn? Or what would you need to learn? So that was kind of the brief to a group of CMOs and agency CEOs on our board, was if you were 25 years old, what would be the most helpful thing in your career? And that's where we kind of started with the program. And it was very much about hands-on training, learning from people that have been there and done it. Not so much PowerPoints, but kind of personal stories of what worked, what didn't, really pivotal moments in your career where you really felt that your journey and your career went from here to here. And those were the types of stories that we wanted to bring in across things like AI and across like brand building. And we talk about career stories and things like that, and the most important traits for marketeers. So we're not teaching people about kind of marketing 101, but it's actually learning from people that have been there on the journey and so on. The program hasn't actually changed that much actually in the last 5 years. You know, it's still about those sessions. It's the mentoring, which is incredibly valuable. We've added in a group project now, so they just have to present, and the winning group gets to present it at the conference in front of 350 people. So we've added some of these elements in, but the core of it actually hasn't changed that much. You know, it's still about bringing a group of 50 highly talented people who have to go through a very tough process to get on it. I think we had 200 people, 1 year that applied. And then how do we whittle that down? So it's the best of the best who are in that kind of 1 to 5 year bracket, both client side and agency side, but of people who take their career seriously and people who want to make that jump through their career. And, as I said, it's the most passionate thing that I'm part of. And as I said, it's really nice now to see the impact of these people moving into senior roles where they're able to put this into practice as marketing leaders. It's been a good journey.
I was just thinking, when I was 25, or when I was like between my 1 and 5 years in the agency side, if I got this opportunity, how will it benefit? It puts me in the room with so many big marketing leaders. It gets me experience share from all of them. I can ask any question, which normally you don't get. You don't normally venture out to speak to your boss or to any other industry leader. It's an amazing platform.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in an organization, you normally converse with your boss. You very rarely get time with your boss's boss's boss. Very rarely, people who have the confidence to go and ask for mentorship or sort of sponsorship, fantastic, but not everyone is like that.
And they don't have time.
No, they don't.
They'll answer your question on the job and then move.
Yeah, exactly. But when you do it into leaders who aren't in your organization, you're able to be a bit more direct with them. You're able to really ask some questions. But one of the other great things the scholarship has done is it's given them a network of 50 people like them, the same part of their career, going through the same challenges. And I'm sure these people will end up working together. They'll be in agency client relationships together. They'll be on panels in the future together. So it's given them a ready-made network of people, which again, at that early part of your career, you don't normally get. Your peers are people that you work with. And so how do we give you that kind of opportunity to grow your community with people who aren't in your organization? And ultimately, we talk a lot of the society about how do you grow your personal boardroom? So who are the 6 to 8 people in your life that you go to for advice when it comes to your career? It could be your parents, it could be your boss, it could be friends. It could be whatever, Khalid Ismail, Marketing Society is certainly someone that I would count as someone that I would go to. So who are these people in your personal boardroom that you go to when you need help? And when you're 25 years old, you don't normally have that because you may have only worked in 1 or 2 companies. So how can you grow this with people as well? And I think that's something that the program has really, really given that, as well as the external stimulus, external ideas that you don't get when you're just in one company. So the Marketing Society provides that because you've got 50 people who are from different organizations, different nationalities, different walks of life, different, types of businesses, and you get all of that learning in one program.
And you have people from agency side, client side,
Yep.
both in the same room.
Yeah, public sector, government, private
All
organizations, not-for-profits. It's a real mix of people.
Awesome. Amazing. You also created a platform to support marketeers who lost their jobs during the most difficult periods. That's not a typical membership organization event. What made you step up and what did that response teach you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this year has been incredibly difficult for lots of people. And, I've gone, having gone through COVID with the Marketing Society, you understand there are some things that
Been there, yeah.
you can take and learn. But obviously it was really challenging for people. We estimated between 5 and 10% of our members lost their jobs in those early parts in March and April. And ultimately, it meant that we wanted and needed to step up for those people that were going through a really tough time in a very, very tough environment. And one of the benefits of the Marketing Society is, because ultimately our main goal isn't about shareholders, or it's about doing good for our members. And if there's something that we think will help our membership, then we'll do it. And, Sophie, my boss, who's the CEO, is an incredible leader who really empowers us to give and says, look, if you think there's something that will help the members, go and do it. And with myself here in a small team, it means we can move very, very quickly. So within a couple of weeks, we'd launched this program called the In-Betweeners, which was helping people that were in this challenge. We'd set up kind of networking sessions for them. We'd launched a content series where we'd help people with content that would help navigate that journey. We'd provide a sort of a discounted rate for people that were in this. So we were able to move really quickly because of the culture of the Marketing Society, of our leadership in Sophie and also what we're doing here. But ultimately, it's really simple. If there's something that will help our members, we'll do it. And the Marketing Society here in the region is also a bit of a test hub for us. If there's something that we want to trial globally, we'll always start it here because this is a country that's about innovation and doing things. And I would say in some ways is the speed of things that we can do it. So sometimes we'll just launch something here. We'll see if it works. If it's great, then we'll take it around the globe. And we're okay with that as well. We don't get it right all the time. There's things that we've done, but it allows us to do more for members because we're not afraid of getting things wrong. We'd trial it and see if it works here. So it was a really challenging period in those first things, but ultimately it was really simple. What would help our members? And in those times of need, there were two words that we kind of came to that we were trying to do. The first is, how can we be positive? Not in an overly fake way. Obviously, it's hard to be positive when there's so much challenge going on in the world and in this region. But how could we provide a positive mindset and to help people where we could? The second thing was, how can we be helpful? So what would help our members in those times of need? And those two really simple words really set the direction for the first month of the Marketing Society during that period. How do we be positive? How can we be helpful? And it was an initiative that was very, very simple, really, because we knew that members needed it.
So how did you get the idea? Did somebody call saying, I lost the job, can you help? Or
no, it was more just talking as a team. We need to do something.
And you realized.
Absolutely, yeah. Just, we need to help our members. And right now, for a big chunk of those people, it is, I've lost my job, or, we're going on reduced hours or reduced salary, whatever it might be. What is going to help these people? And for some people, that might have been a chance to connect with someone else who was going through it. For some people, it might have been inspiration through our content, and we moved all of our events online. For some people, it might have just been knowing that they're not alone, and there's a community there that's to support them. So sometimes it's just about doing something. You could create these ideas and go too far and spend weeks doing strategy, but sometimes you just need to do things. Barack Obama said, a very trait that we're not seeing in the world is people who can just do stuff. And I think that sometimes the Marketing Society, one thing that we are good is just doing things.
And I know there's a WhatsApp group of people. I'm not a member, so I don't know how active it is. But people who lost the job join the group. People who are able to offer the job join the group. And
yeah, absolutely. So we set up an In-Betweeners WhatsApp group for those that were in between roles, where people could support them if they had work or opportunities. So yeah, lots of people have got jobs through the Marketing Society, not just recently, but over time.
Earlier, I'm sure.
There's been a few big CMO roles that I know have come through connections with us. So it's really great that we can help. And the WhatsApp group provides us that speed. It's a fantastic channel to speed. Access, speed and ease. And especially in those times of need, that becomes even more important.
True.
And so, we've been able to do that because of the culture that we created and because of the ability through WhatsApp to do things at lightning speed, that we could move very, very quickly. So yeah, it's been great to see people do it. Would love to offer more if we can, and we're still trying to think of ways that we can do that. There's an AI session that we're trying to create at the moment to try and help people with their kind of CVs
Resume,
and how that
CVs.
helps
Okay,
and things like that.
nice.
So
Very nice.
there's always things that we're trying to do that will have make a difference and make an impact. Sometimes it's about doing things quickly and speed. Sometimes it's about getting things right. But you know, we're always trying to find that
Eventually,
balance.
you get it right.
Yeah.
TMS also launched a GCC-wide mental health charter signed by over 300 senior industry professionals. Why mental health is still a conversation in this industry, and we still struggle to openly talk about it.
Yeah, we do, but I have seen huge changes in this country over the last 5 or 6 years. You know, when I moved here in 2018, I tried to get us to do an event on mental health, and the board said no. And it took me a year to get the board to agree to do it. Everyone said people wouldn't open up in this country, they wouldn't be vulnerable, they wouldn't share those types of things. We brought an incredible speaker over called Jeff McDonald, who's the former chief HR officer of Unilever, and he's now a mental health campaigner. And he did an event and people broke down in tears. People were very, very open about their own challenges and their own struggles. And that really allowed us and showed that people needed to talk about this, and it needed to be more important. COVID took it up the agenda and made it even more important for people. But we've always had a passion for it because we think it's really important, especially for senior leaders who have immense pressure on their job, especially in marketing, communication, advertising. I think it was always rated the number 3rd most stressful industry because of tight deadlines, because of demanding clients. It's very, very challenging. So we feel that mental health is a critical element for our business and for the Marketing Society. One of our board members, Emma Cantwell, she's a real advocate of this and has really helped do it. And we launched it with the PRCA and MEPRA and Mental. So the organization, again, was coming together to try and drive change rather than doing things separately.
Awesome.
How do we work together? And we launched this charter. We had lots of signups, and then we're looking at how we can find ways to add in sort of helpful advice or content that strengthens that, so it becomes like a living document. But it's really important for our industry, and I think we'll see it more and more and more. But you know, and the UAE government does take it seriously. A lot more than pre-COVID, which is great to see.
Yeah, COVID triggered a lot of new conversations and new things. Yeah,
but for our industry, it's critical, and
it is.
You know, we have to keep finding ways to look at how we can help the next generation of talent, because they don't accept a lot of the things that other generations has, but they also have more mental health problems. And so how do we find that balance about really making sure that as an industry, we're really doing the things that we need to and really driving economic growth, but at the same time, making it an industry which people want to be part of and people don't get burnt out. And that is a really challenging balance to try and have.
Given the current situation scenario, it's still very important to have that open conversation about your current well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the more people are willing to, and more people in senior roles, the more everyone else opens up.
Yep, exactly.
And you know, so I mean, at the Marketing Society, that is an absolute culture. You know, we as a team gone through highs and lows of different team members, but we're very open. And I think that has a massive part to play. And I think if more leaders can be more open and vulnerable and show empathy, then I think it trickles down through the organization.
Awards expanded from UAE only to the full GCC in 2025. The same year, TMS celebrated 40 years. What does that expansion signal about where this region and its marketing is maturing towards?
Yeah, I think it is. I think the industry and the profession, the GCC, is becoming more professional. You know, it's a young country in a young region. You know, in the UK, advertising has been done for 150 years. This country's 55 years old, and until 25 years ago, most things
20 years of advertising or marketing.
Yeah, most things here were run on licenses. Yeah, it was a sales business.
Yeah,
and obviously, the more that more homegrown brands have grown and built, the more need for marketing and brand strength and brand quality to help drive that as well. But we really feel that the GCC has some really great stories that we can show with the rest of the world. And the role of the awards ultimately is to showcase best-in-class marketing.
Yep.
And the more that we can tell those stories, I think the stronger that we become. All of the case studies are available for Marketing Society members to read in the UK, in Scotland, and here. So members have a huge source of the best, the best work that happens around the world. And the more that we can share those stories, the more people learn, and that raises the collective quality. So we feel that awards are really, really important from that simple step that if you see what good looks like, you have a better benchmark within your own organization. And I think it challenges people and raises the ambition of what we should do. And because we're a not-for-profit, we sit in quite a unique position where we don't do it for the commercial element. You know, for some businesses, that's their
Awards
core
is
model.
a commercial element.
You know, and I think the caliber here of awards is a bit so-so. And I think the one thing that we've really tried to do is to be transparent and showcase that the best work wins. You know, the commercial element for us isn't important. It just allows us to do it. But the awards are really important. We think the GCC has some great stories to show, especially with Saudi opening up. And it wouldn't surprise me as in the future it becomes a MENA Awards that we can then engage more people. But it's a big change moving from a single country award to a regional awards with currencies, with judges. You know, it all has to play a part. So for us, we wanted to make sure we got it right, and then we built it out. But the caliber of our judges of being CMO leaders from different organizations, that is what sets our awards apart and makes them different. It's only judged by CMOs from brands. I'm not a judge. Anyone within the Marketing Society is not a judge. We don't read the papers until the judging's finished.
They're finished.
And that puts us in a credibility that some of the other awards just don't have. Again, because we're a neutral third party. So the awards are critical for us. We want to continue to build them. We've had some great winners over the last few years. And I'm sure some of the winners this year will be incredibly strong. We just had the judging last week, actually. So I look forward to sharing those with you in September. But some really great examples of best-in-class marketing.
Amazing. So how are we different from the other advertising awards? I don't want to name them, but there are, you know, that how are we different? You do advertising and marketing, yours only marketing, or?
Yeah, I mean, we have different awards. I think where ours are different is we only have 9 awards. So ours are very, very focused, very, very sharp. They're very different, the 9 categories, from brand communication to sustainability to effective partnerships to marketing technology. So they're very different. And it's the brand that's the winner for our awards. The agency gets recognition as well, but it's the brand that's the winner. Then it's only judged by CMOs, as I mentioned. So it sits us in quite a unique position. And it's only judged by around about 25 CMOs. So again, a lot of the other judges have a bigger awards. Ours are very, very focused, very, very niche. And ours is a balance of creativity, of marketing excellence, of commercial results, of bravery, of the impact that it makes on the profession of marketing is one of our criteria.
Interesting.
So, you know, other awards, the Dubai Links is a fantastic awards, but it's all focused on creativity. The Effies is a brilliant awards. It's all focused on effectiveness. The Marketing Society is a mixture of all of those things put together that showcases the best work across multiple facets of the industry. And so when you get a Marketing Society award winner, they're truly award winner when it comes to best-in-class marketing. And so I think that's how we're separated. But I do think the big thing for us locally is the transparency of our awards. We're very open about how we judge them, about the criteria that we're used to do it. And because we're a not-for-profit organization, it puts us in a unique position that we know the commercial element of it does not matter. You know, I don't care who wins, as long as it is the best entry in that.
The best people choosing the best.
Exactly. And so that's one of the things that we really push and I think separates us from some of them. There are some great awards here and we partner with them because we want to showcase those winners. As I said, it's all about showcasing stories that prove why marketing matters. And, you know, being able to go into finance teams and business teams to showcase that if you do this, you can get this result by, you know, showcasing great work. So that's why we're really passionate about awards. But we're very, very selective with how we create ours, very, very small, very, very focused.
Last question on this point. Even if I'm not a member, I can apply for the awards?
Yeah, anyone can enter our awards. There is a discount that comes for members. They get around about 25% discount on the entries and the tickets, but anyone can join. And as I said, we want to see the best work from across the region.
You sit at the center of GCC marketing community. You hear the conversations that don't make it to the press releases. What is the one thing that marketing industry in this region is getting consistently wrong right now that nobody is saying loud? 2
things. I think the client agency relationship in this part of the world needs a lot of work, a lot of work. And it may be talked about a little bit, but I really think we have to grow a stronger partnership in the way that we create these partnerships. That starts from the pitch process. That starts from payment terms, which are just still shocking, all the way through to how we actually manage these client agency relationships, that we see them as long-term partnerships, not short-term suppliers. And I think for me, if I could fix one thing in the industry locally, it would be about how the mindset of how we go into these partnerships. The second element I would say is that everything here is about speed. And we work in an industry which is about creative craft in advertising, but in marketing as well. How we build, commercial models, how we build commercial models, how we get our distribution right, how we work on our promotions and our pricing. Like, it all matters. And it isn't about speed. It's about really honing on your craft and making it. And that then also comes into how we build brands. And the one thing that I would say here is that because a lot of brands are global brands that have been brought here, not a lot of brand work had been done. And so it's great to see organizations really focus on building the brand while also delivering on the short-term performance marketing. And I think that's one part that we still haven't got right yet. I still think the balance is completely on the performance side. There are a few
immediate results versus long-term objectives.
Yeah, there's a few organizations that I think have done it well. And I think the more regional brands go global, we'll have to do that because it's managed from here rather than managed from somewhere else. And we
then get the learning here.
That's always how it was. So those are the two things that I'd love to see. The fundamentals of building a brand for the long term as a focus, not just on the short term. And I'd love to see how we build stronger client agency relationships across all of those things that I mentioned: pitch process, payment terms, long-term partnership management. And I think we'll be much stronger as an industry from that.
Has any effort gone into bringing both agency client together to share their problems and share their conversations?
Yeah, a little bit. I think, so there's a company called Migrate, which is run by Nick Walsh. And he's doing a lot of work in this area that
He's an ex-agency person.
He's an ex-agency guy, but he's really passionate about how, he can really champion this with Migrate. And we're really passionate about supporting them as well. So I think you'll see more of the associations working together on these types of things, because it isn't just one organization. It's across PR, it's across advertising, it's across social.
It's across the industry.
It's across the industry. It's not a one area fit. And I think if we can come together and have brands and agencies and procurement work together, then I think that we're going to be much stronger.
The third element is procurement everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think there's elements that we have to get right first. And then we have to think of procurement as a thinking partner, and to show and to get them to understand the role that marketing actually plays. It isn't just about communicating.
It's not commercial.
It's not just an ad. It's a broader ecosystem of building long-term growth in a business with understanding customer need, and then how do we communicate what we do at the last bit. But if we don't do the 90% bit, then they'll never understand really what we do. So I think there's some education that needs. I think there's some bigger relationships that we need to do. And then together as an industry, client and agency side, work together to try and drive change. So hopefully we'll see more and more the marketing society with Migrate focusing on that over the next few years.
That's a great initiative, because you sit in a neutral position and you'll be heard from both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a great initiative. On the same note, I'd love to understand more from the agency point. What is this region doing better than anywhere else in the world right now? What should the global marketing industry be learning from us?
I think one of the things that this country is great at is the need for innovation. It's embedded into the culture of the UAE. It's about faster, better, stronger, whatever it might be. And I think that naturally comes into agencies evolving at the times. Clients are always going to say agencies are not keeping up. It's impossible. That's always one of the things. But I think one of the things here is there is a willingness to try new things that I don't always see in other parts of the world. Some of it comes through necessity. You've got to keep up with the pace of change of technology. But I do think that there are agencies that are really trying to champion that. And I think we're also starting to see more independent agencies come through as well, which I think is something that's going to be really important for this region. It's completely dominated by the big four, which isn't always a bad thing. But I also believe that if we're able to have more independent agencies that bring in different facets and can do things sometimes at quicker pace and bring in different thinking and philosophy, then our industry will become stronger. So I would love to continue to see this trend of more independent agencies coming through, and for brands not to have this default setting that says, I have to work with a big holding company agency. You might do in some elements, but I would love
a global
to see
alignment.
Exactly, how you can bring in a roster of agencies to work on different projects that might engage more independence that can help as well. So I think you'll start to see more stronger independence come from this part of the world as well, or where they set up here from other markets, because there's so much opportunity here, and we need that kind of external learning from other parts of the world to raise the caliber as well.
It's great that you say this now, because a lot of clients are moving towards integrated agencies because of the same reason that, okay, I am short-staffed or I want a complete solution from one agency. I remember there were like at least 10, 15 years back, the same thing happened, as in there were multiple agency network, clients working with 5 agencies, but unable to cope up with, specialized agencies probably, yes, 100%.
You need a roster of agencies.
With AI coming in,
absolutely,
need,
the sort of the 70-20-10 approach, I think, can work. 70% is with one agency. You work on other smaller projects on 20%, and then you 10%.
10 is giving you the
you try something completely different, or maybe there's a really great new agency that's really strong on AI. That's a great model. I do think you need a bit of variety, because also, agencies work at ridiculous pace, and as the margins have been, really, really thinned down. Sometimes you need that external stimulus from different organizations to be with you.
To probably wake me up.
Absolutely, and just to bring different thinking that you can then take back to other agency partners. And if everyone's very aligned and very, very transparent from the start, I think it's a good thing, because you all learn from each other, you work from each other, you bring it, and obviously it brings in headaches, I get that, but it also brings in variety of thought. And that's what we need. We need different thinking to then decide what's the best approach. If we have the same thing over and over again, it can become quite stale. So it brings in fresh thinking, fresh ideas. And if you have a client that can manage those different organizations and can bring harmony, then I think the client will be in a lot stronger position.
We spoke about AI. AI is reshaping the marketing profession faster than most organizations are prepared for. From your position at the center of the community, how are senior marketers in GCC actually feeling about it right now? Excited, threatened, or confused?
I would say more fear and threatened than excitement, certainly. I think, again, like most things, you have 20% of people who are very, very at the latest trends. They know about AI, they're reading all the updates, they're really at the leading edge of things. You have 20% of people who are probably barely using it, helping them edit some copy and are fearful of what you do. And then you get the 60% who are in the middle, who might dabble in a few programs, who might try and bring it in, but are really in that kind of middle ground at the moment. So I think there's a real variety in the ways that people are doing it. But it isn't a question of using it or not. You have to be really learning it. And I think we've moved, we had our Navigate event last week, AI was at the center of most things, because I think we've moved away now from AI being an external thing you add on, to AI being integrated into everything you do, into your customer experience, into your social, into your content creation, into your thinking, into your synthetic data from an insights point of view. I don't think AI is a bolt-on anymore. I think it's integrated into every department. And I think over the last 18 months, probably a year, we've seen that shift. I remember talking on stage 3 years ago about AI, and it was about content creation. And now it's about embedding into every department in the business. So I think we're getting to the point now where if you aren't really learning, you aren't really constantly being at the leading edge of those things, I don't think you're going to be able to do your job, because it's integrated into every element of 100%. It. And I think you'll start to get found out quite quickly. So I really implore marketers to really take time out of the day to learn, to read what's coming up, to go on courses if you can, but just to learn from other people. I think that's the best way to do it. We have an AI WhatsApp group, to learn how other people are doing it, and to make it tangible, because AI is very, very difficult to really make tangible, especially when you talk about it up here. So how can you learn from people about how they actually implemented that agentic AI into their company? Or how did they really build that work stream into their organization to do it? There's a guy called Daniel Gilbert at Brain Labs. I think he does a great job of really simplifying AI about how he's using it in his agency that he runs. He's the founder and CEO of Brain Labs, I think they're called. How does he really integrate that into the work that they do?
Wow.
So there's definitely people out there who are making the complicated, simple. And I think they're the people that you really need to jump on the bandwagon. There's lots on YouTube and videos and things like that. But I think find people who are showcasing how to make the complex simple and really double down on them would be my suggestion.
I remember when we started using AI, the initial early days was content creation. Now we have AI integrating into our CMS and everything, as in it's across the board, across divisions, across departments, top to down, left to right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to be even more and more as we continue to go through. And there'll be a part where you'll be working with humans and AI
Oh, yes.
in a very, very integrated way. And I don't think we're a million miles from that, probably in the next 2 or 3 years. So, how can you really be able to, integrate and communicate with these systems is going to be critical.
The faster you accept
for
and
teams,
start working.
absolutely. But, you have to embrace, the people that are shy and reserved. We're really going to start to see them being impacted, unfortunately, with their jobs.
I've had so many people say that AI will not take the job, but the guy who knows AI will take your job.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what are TMS's future plans for the GCC? Where is this going the next 3-5 years?
Yeah, absolutely. So we still have big, ambitious plans for the region. Geographic expansion is a big part of what we're doing. We're looking at launching a hub in the Marketing Society in Riyadh at some point soon, which will be great. And other markets in the GCC will be of interest. How do we make sure that we're really engaging the very, very top leaders across the whole of the GCC, not just the UAE. So that's a big part of what we're doing. But we're also looking at how we can launch new programs, new initiatives, AI, obviously. How do we really help that conversation, because it's so important. So we're not sitting still. We've got a really hungry, young, ambitious team. I think the next steps for us will be, how do we launch more programs that are more intimate? So how do we really start to segment the community more? We have 650 members, not just in terms of seniority, but really looking at the types of things that they'll need to learn, the different programs that we can do, and then how do we create kind of working groups to support those? So more member-generated focus of groups. And then how do we really create more specialized programs that help people depending on the part of their career that they're in? So as I said, this year was the female leadership program for people trying to make into the C-suite. Maybe there's more of a program for mid-talent where they're not a scholarship, they're not ready to be members yet, but we provide a bit more of an in-depth program for them as well. So we've got lots of plans, but how do we double down on the things that we're good at? How do we engage people globally? How do we really focus on the client side community? And how do we make sure that we're for senior leaders and ultimately the decision makers within that? So those three things won't change, but we're really passionate about growing the Marketing Society around the globe, and especially here in the GCC. It's such an important part of our business now. And how do we really make sure we launch more member-generated programs that deliver value back for members and engage members in what we do, really allow them to say in what they have in their society.
One word to describe GCC marketing community right now.
Rebounding.
Client side or agency side, which produces better marketeers?
Neither. Both are the same. Both are the same.
Similar.
Great. You get great leaders on both
combination of
sides.
experience.
Yeah, I think there are fantastic agency leaders and great marketing leaders on the client side.
Most underrated benefit of being a TMS member?
Speed for answers, connections, learning. You don't have to look around. Hopefully we've got it all within the WhatsApp group or within the community. So I think it makes your job easier because we speed up.
The GCC marketeer or brand you most admire? Let's call it the brand you most admire.
I mean, Emirates is an easy one, but I think Majid Al Futtaim for me. I think it's a very well-run business.
The whole MAF brand.
And I think the marketing function within it is incredibly strong. They take talent very seriously. They take learning very seriously. They bring in from all around the world. And I just think they do a fantastic job, actually.
One thing marketers should stop doing at networking events?
I think coming into it only thinking, what can I get out of it? Going into it with, what can I give back as well? And for me, business cards. It's 2026. We've got LinkedIn. We've got a tap of the phone where details can go in.
QR codes.
I'm just not sure anyone needs a business card anymore, personally.
Yeah. Awards, vanity or necessity?
90% necessity, 10% vanity.
A city outside the GCC where the marketing community impresses you most?
I always think Australia does very well, considering the size of the population, how remote it is. With New Zealand and other countries, it's probably only 30 million people, but they always punch above their weight in advertising awards in Cannes. I think the marketing's really strong. I think the brands they create are very, very strong considering such a small population. Obviously, it's a wealthy country, but I think considering the size of the population, they create brilliant brands. And I think they're very, very strong. And obviously they have things like the Ehrenberg Bass Institute there. So they get great marketing training and sort of ways of working. But I think they punch above their weight quite a bit.
That's a real surprise answer. I would have never imagined Australia. I would have expected New York, London, China, India.
Yeah, I mean, I think those
Australia,
are
great.
Yeah, I think those. I mean, like, obviously London and New York are kind of where
Classical,
marketing was founded, and places like China are incredible. But I think from Australia, as I said, for the awards they win and the brands they create with such a small population, I think it's really impressive.
Great amount of work. Best TMS event you have ever hosted, and what made it special?
The best speaker I ever heard was a NASA astronaut called Ed Lu, and he talked about the importance of just doing things. He told this great story of how he'd always walk past another astronaut in the corridor, and they'd always say, "Let's get our families together. Next week, let's get our families together." And then there was an incident on a shuttle where it unfortunately exploded. And so they never had the chance to do it. And he always said, just do things.
Just keep doing.
So he was one of the best speakers I've ever heard. And he also talked about how ridiculous war is when you see countries from space with no borders in this beautiful country, and there's no, it was a very good session.
The world is one.
So that was the best session I ever heard. The best, I'd say the most memorable event, I hosted Karim El Fiki, who's the CMO of Pepsi, last month in a conversation. Wonderful human, brilliant leader, fantastic marketeer, really great conversation. I learned a lot, and hopefully everyone else in the audience. So maybe not, but certainly one of the most memorable recently. I thought he was a really great person.
Very honest answers.
Absolutely, just a brilliant person, but a great leader as well. Really enjoyed the way his philosophy. He's very, very calm. He's not this typical,
hardline
exactly.
approach.
He was a very, very kind,
very human.
Yeah, human person who really brought out the best in people. And I think that's what modern day leadership is.
Professional golf or marketing society?
Being a professional golfer would have been brilliant if I was good enough, but seeing as I was a long way off it, the marketing society has been a great career. Well, starts my career, and I've loved every minute of it.
Fill in the blank. The GCC marketing community will reach its full potential only when
we treat marketing as a long-term play rather than short-term promotion. When we look to build brands for 100 years, not for 2 years, I think we'll really start to see the impact of what we can create and how we take businesses that are created here out to the globe. And I think that's one of the exciting things with Saudi, I think, and here in the UAE and Abu Dhabi especially, I think what they're doing is really impressive at the moment. But I think the next step is how do we take homegrown brands and take them to the world? And that requires long-term thinking. And I think until we do that, we won't see that happen.
Alasdair, Kingston University to Hong Kong to Singapore to Dubai. One organization, one mission, over a decade of building. The room that the marketing industry in this region needed and didn't know how to build for itself. You built the foundation that made conversations like this one possible. If you're watching this and you're not yet a member of the Marketing Society, this is your moment. The link is in the description. Go join the room. Thank you, Alasdair, for building something that genuinely matters for all of us. And thank you for being here today evening.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for having me in the marketing room.
Thank you.